Talk to us. I'm looking at this headline on freedomfriday.Carl Gallups on Facebook, and it says European superstate to be unveiled. And then it says European Union nations are to be morphed into one big nation even after Brexit. So in other words, they're thumbing their nose at Brexit, and they're looking to unveil a superstate, a revival of an old ancient Roman Empire, I guess. Gee, do you think there's anything prophetic to that, Brandon?
Well, there could be, but I don't really want to talk about it, so it's boring.
Yeah, why? You might be considered a conspiracy theorist or something.
Yeah. So, but no, listen, we just talked about some of this last week, of course, right after the Brexit vote, and how even that has some prophetic implications with the separation of the animal nation representations in Revelation 13, where the lion, which very well could represent Great Britain, being very separate from this other animal symbol of the leopard, which could very well represent Germany as the head of the EU.
And by the way, let me break in and give you verification or impetus. Let people know that you know what you're talking about, because if people will go to some of the classic commentaries that have been written about these passages for several hundred years, what Brandon just said, Great Britain being represented by the lion, Germany being represented by the leopard, I mean, classic commentators and Bible scholars agree with these, and not all of them, but a bunch of them do. Brandon, go ahead.
Yes, yeah, and listen, I mean, the Bible even interprets the Bible. We go over to Daniel, and Daniel saw the same vision, the same beast, the same animal representations, and he told us these represent kingdoms to come. Mm-hmm. So we know that these animal symbols represent nations. I mean, the Bible interprets that for us, right?
Right.
So we just have to discern and try and seek discernment on what on how that plays out in the real world. And so, like I say, with the lion, very possibly representing Great Britain, the leopard very possibly representing Germany, and a distinct separation in the Scripture of the two animal representations. Well, last week we saw the lion separate itself.
Right.
And interestingly enough, in Scripture, the lion is called out as the part of the beast as it has the mouth of the lion. And we talked about last week how the lion certainly roared last week. The lion spoke last week in a very huge way by exiting the EU, and that's going to shake up the balance of power in the entire world, and it already is.
Yeah.
Because immediately after that happened, we see 7 or 8 other member nations of the EU starting to say, well, wait a minute, we want to do the same thing. We want our sovereignty back. Right. We don't want to be ruled by a body of unelected authorities that just basically are dictators over us. So before that can get traction, what happens? The heads of France and the heads of Germany get together, and they decide, you know what, before this whole thing falls apart, we need to morph the rest of the EU states into one giant superstate that will be headed up out of Brussels, Germany.
Yeah. And I'm looking, and I'm looking at this article, and folks, think about this for a moment. And Brandon, I know you've thought of this, but who was the major player? Who kind of started World War I? Germany.
Yeah.
20 years later, we're embroiled in less than 20 years, or 20 years later, we're embroiled in another world war. Who starts that? Germany.
Yeah.
The leopard. Yeah. I mean, the only 2 world wars in the history of mankind. The major player that kind of started the whole thing, the leopard. And what happened as a result of all of that? I mean, Jews are getting scattered all over the world in World War I. And in World War II, they had been coming back to the Promised Land in the late 1800s, early 1900s. Then World War I breaks out. Then World War II breaks out. And Hitler joins up with the Muslim Brotherhood in the Middle East, which was created in 1928 for the purpose of destroying Jews and keeping Israel from returning. It's like Satan knew that would be the big thing. When that happened, he knew his time was short. And as World War II ended, Israel was reborn.
Yeah. The biggest key to Bible prophecy and the timing of certain events.
And now the leopard is speaking again. They're trying to put together this big, revitalized Roman Empire, if you will, and Germany, again, is right in the middle of it.
Well, and it's interesting because if you read as to what all this will encompass on these current EU sovereign, somewhat sovereign nations, if this happens, and I mean, basically, they're just saying this is going to happen. There's no choice in it because the heads of the EU are unelected, unaccountable authority,
Right.
and so they do what they want to do. See, that's why, you know, the United States many years ago, our forefathers left Great Britain. Same kind of thing was going on, and so. But you read into this, well, what are these now somewhat sovereign nations going to lose? Well, they're going to lose their sovereign military. They're going to lose their monetary systems. They're going to lose their central banks. They are going to lose their borders.
Oh, yeah.
So this unelected, unaccountable board out of Brussels, Germany, will be able to say, we're getting ready to dump off 10 million Syrians. You understand what I'm saying?
No, I got you.
We're getting ready to dump off 10 million members of the religion of peace that peacefully slaughtered 43 more people this week in Turkey.
Yeah.
And that right now, while we're having this radio program, is peacefully holding people hostage in Istanbul.
Yeah.
And have already confirmed peacefully killed 2 police officers in that situation, and they don't know how many more people are dead, and they believe there's as many as 9 peaceful gunmen
Yeah. Now
from the religion of peace.
Yeah, now these are a bunch of Baptist preachers doing this, right?
Yeah.
I mean, wasn't it a bunch of Baptist preachers that went into the gay bar? Because, you know, Baptists are just haters on gays. So didn't they go into that gay bar in Orlando? And
that's right.
Isn't
it
it Baptist preachers?
Of peace,
yeah.
Yes, that peacefully slaughtered 49 people in Orlando, Florida a few weeks ago.
Yeah, pushing gays off tops of buildings in the Middle East. Those are Baptist preachers, aren't they? Or
they're
Assembly of God Youth.
The same people that are peacefully slaughtering thousands of Christians right now in the Middle East. And listen, we don't even know the real numbers. We don't know.
No, I know. No, you're right.
Because we can't confirm them. We can't get in there to confirm them, and the sources that are giving out the numbers.
Yeah, and what we need to do is bring them over here by the tens of thousands and let them live over here, because that way they'll be sweet to us.
Yeah. And just love them. Just love them.
Just love them. Yeah.
You know,
sing Kumbaya.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because there's no laws within their own religion that require them to lie and be deceitful, to infiltrate.
No.
And to lie in waiting until the right time to attack.
Right. And the Quran doesn't say.
That's why people can say 90% of Muslims are peaceful, and I agree. Right now, they are acting in that manner. But how do we know how many of those 90% are practicing taqiyya?
Well, here's the other thing: if 90% of them are peaceful, why don't the 90% of them speak up to the 10%
and start? That's exactly right.
I mean,
and
please.
Start chastising and criticizing what's going on with the, quote, radical side. No, it's not the radical side. It's the entire religion of Islam is based on hateful teachings.
Yeah. And so let me ask you, if just a small minority of Muslims are the radicals and the rest of the Muslims don't need to be judged by this, why is it that when there's a gun crime, all gun owners need to give up their guns?
That's right.
I mean... we're living in an upside down world, brother. That's why we talk. That's why that's why it's called Freedom Friday. What does that mean? Because if you abide in the Word and the Word abides in you, then you'll know the truth, and the truth will what, Brandon?
The truth will set
you free. So this is Freedom Friday. This is where we get some freedom because we're going to deal in truth. Brandon, we got to take a time out, and you got to go, don't you?
I have certainly enjoyed it. Thank you for the time.
Me too. Your time. You're welcome, Brandon. It was your time. God bless you. All right, that was Brandon Big B. We'll have him again next.